What up, YouTube? Do you have a Panther platform vehicle with adjustable foot pedals that are not working properly? Stay tuned and I'm going to show you what's going on. Well, I wasn't originally planning on making a video about this, but I figured I might as well. So I am in here. First of all, here is what our video is about right here. Adjustable pedals. My pedals were not working. I would hear a clunk, clunk in either direction like it wanted to move. So clearly the motor was getting power and something was obstructing it. So as you can see, I've got my whole dang brake pedal removed from the car. Had to disconnect the steering shaft or the steering column shaft, whatever you want to call it. So now I got to be very careful not to spin this too much. It's very loosey-goosey. It's right there in the middle where it's supposed to be though, and I'm making sure that it doesn't spin. But anyway, my adjustable pedals weren't working, and so I got my whole pedal assembly out right here, and I will show you what I found that's wrong with it. Alright, so here's the gas pedal, and this black cylinder shape with the electrical connectors and the white plastic piece connected to it, that's the actual motor. And I believe that the motor acts directly on the gas pedal. Then there is a cable that comes up off of the motor. You can see it right there. And it goes over to the brake pedal. And I will find it real quick here just to show you. That's not it. Oh, here it is. Okay. So this is the cable, and it goes to the motor over there. And this little square drive will go inside of a part on the brake pedal assembly, and it spins as the motor works. So the first thing I did was I disconnected that cable, and then the motor worked and spun for the gas pedal, and the cable was also spinning. But while it was connected, the cable would try to move and it couldn't. You go the other way, it would try to move and it couldn't. So excuse me, here is the pedal itself, and we had to take the 4 nuts out that hold it to the booster. And unfortunately, in order to squeeze it out, in addition to disconnecting the steering column like I showed you, we also had to pull the brake booster and master cylinder assembly out a little bit in order to clear one of the studs. So initially, when you're looking at it in the car, it looks like that. But I took the screws out, and then you have to still push in these tabs to get it to pop off. The tabs go in these holes here. And so inside this is where the cable goes, and it goes inside of a triple square hole, but the cable is just a square. Kind of weird. Maybe so you can line it up easily. So I took this worm gear out, and I cleaned out the grease, and I put a shit ton of more new fresh grease in there. And it's supposed to turn this regular gear here that is plastic, and I'll try to get close to it so you can see. Right here, the gear is actually cracked right where my fingernail is. So from what I've done research on this issue, 99% of the time that's the issue. However, you can tell here that it's bottomed out now. You can see it at the bottom of the sleeve. If we turn the gear all the way the other way, roughly 7 times, it will go up. And so we're doing that. And for some reason, this is what got stuck. It wasn't because of the pedal or anything like that, or the cable, I mean. It was just that this got stuck, and I know that's all it was, because I was able to break it free and it spins. And then I put the worm gear back on it, and I put a triple square socket and my driver, and I was able to slowly spin it. And you can kind of tell just by the sound of it when it's hitting that cracked spot, but it's not so bad that it doesn't work at all anymore. And so I think what I'm going to do is just try to at least get it in a position that I like, because it's pretty much bottomed out at this point, and I don't really want to scoot my seat up any farther. I mean, I'm not a super short guy, but this is also a huge car, and I have the seat where I want, and the steering wheel doesn't telescope. So basically I need to be able to move the pedals in order for me to have that perfect seating position. And when you spend a lot of money on a nice car that's supposed to be a comfortable cruise, it'd be nice if you could have everything set up how it's supposed to be. So anyway, the best way to fix this is, of course, to replace this gear, but apparently that's not serviceable, and so you have to buy the entire pedal assembly. But apparently the pedal assembly has been discontinued, so there's really not a whole lot you can do unless you can find one of these that has a non-cracked gear at the junkyard and kind of hope for the best. I was looking on an online forum for Lincolns, and I guess there was a guy on there about 10 years ago that says that he can make these gears out of brass at his machine shop and they'll never break again. But that was, like I said, about 10 years ago, and I'd have to make an account on that forum in order to even be able to try to communicate with anybody on there. But I guess just for this gear, they want about 85 bucks for that, for the upgraded part, and that's if they're still doing that. So basically at this point I've got no choice but to just try to get it in a position that I want. I think it should work. It's just kind of a matter of making sure that it's nice and greased, and then I'm going to really probably not use it much at all, but if I do need to use it, it should work, you know, at least a handful of times moving forward. Kind of unfortunate that something like this is no longer available, but anyway, I'm going to try to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to grease the hell out of that worm gear, and we've already got some grease in here, so I'm hoping that that extra grease should help it kind of glide over that crack there that we have. So stay tuned for that. We're going to get this all put back together. So another thing I want to throw out there, I know you can't see it anymore because I went ahead and put this back on, but the shaft that gear is mounted to, it's got like a swedge in it, basically. It kind of, the metal is kind of mushroomed to one side. So in order to even get the gear off of there to replace it, some of that stud would need to be ground down. Just wanted to throw that out there, that it's not like you can just slide the gear off and put a new one on, unfortunately. It would be ideal if you could replace this whole assembly. However, you're probably going to get one with another plastic gear that's likely going to break again, so it's kind of a trade-off. If I can ever get a hold of one of them metal gears, I might look into it and go ahead and pick one up. But the main purpose of this video is to just kind of show you guys how the system works, and then if you got a Grand Marquis, Crown Vic, or a town car that has this issue, at least you will be able to watch this video and know why your system is not working and understand how the system works. Now, whether you want to go through all the trouble that I've gone through to try to fix it will be completely up to you. I would imagine that many people out there are not as insane as me and willing to go through all of this just to get an extra inch of lift out of your pedal. But hey, to me, it's a good video for you guys, so It's all good. One thing I will say too is if you can hold off on taking these screws out till you get the whole assembly out, that's even better, because I took these off in the car thinking I was going to be able to spin it, and it just would not spin. And so I figured I'd take the whole thing out because I could get at it a little better and have more space, and then that's kind of how I was able to break it free. So just a heads up, don't try to take these screws out in the car. It is such a pain. Just go ahead and take the whole assembly out, and it'll be so much easier to mess with this. Another thing I want to point out, if you happen to have seen my Lincoln video where we did the whole driver door, the door motor actually for the window is actually designed exactly the same way as this pedal. There's a worm gear that spins a regular gear, and then that moves whatever component. On the 69 it's a window. In this case it is the pedal assembly. I just think it's very cool and interesting that 50 some years later they have the same technology in use. Okay, so we're pretty much back at the beginning here. We've got the steering shaft reconnected with that 10mm bolt. It kind of just collapses down. We still got our steering wheel straight, made sure it didn't get out of place. We've got our cruise control cancel switch twisted back in. That just twists out. We got the 10mm that holds the brake pedal bracket up back in. We got all 4 of the 15mm nuts that hold it back on the booster. Of course, obviously we have our booster pushed back in. We've got the pedal rod reconnected, as well as our brake light switch reconnected. And so the only thing missing here is the little plastic cover that goes up there. Also, there's this little clip that holds this bracket around your engine computer. So if that falls out, make sure you put that back on, because otherwise the computer is somewhat loose right there if you don't. And so now, another thing I want to point out and make sure that we do before we reconnect the cable, because that's pretty much the only thing that I haven't done yet. We want to put the key in the on position. Well, I guess I need to reconnect the battery first. Give me one sec. Okay, for real this time. Got the key in the on position. And we are going to make sure... Oop, wrong way. We're going to make sure that that's totally bottomed out. That's kind of weird that it kicks up like that. Anyway, we got it bottomed out, and that's the position that I have the brake pedal in as well. So in theory, they should be indexed, quote unquote. They're both in the bottommost position. So I should be able to reconnect the cable, and then I should be able to actuate it where both pedals move up, and then I'm probably not going to mess with it again unless I really need to for some reason. And then hopefully I'll have my perfect seating position. We also need to reset the clock since the battery was disconnected. Perfect. Now that we got that cable reconnected, moment of truth. Nice. They totally came up a bit, and I needed just a little bit too. Perfect. Alright, well now that I got that issue resolved, the only thing I got left to do is put this panel back on. The light that's kind of hanging goes in there. I went ahead and took the bulb out because that bad boy was getting hot and it kept touching me while I was down there working. And then you got this, this, and this, where those 3 black clips go. And if you're looking out the windshield sitting in the driver's seat, it mounts like this. So these 2 holes are closest to you, and then of course this part is close to the firewall. And then I believe this little area right here actually slides in to the clip here on the PCM bracket. So that's how you put that back on. And that's pretty much the end of this video for today, guys. And in case you're wondering, I sure did wipe off the dusty side of that panel that no one's ever gonna see. That's how we treat our Lincolns here on the Andy's Auto YouTube channel. Anyways, if you liked the video, please hit that thumbs up button. Helps me out a lot. If you're running into this issue yourself, Please leave a comment below on what you're going through, and I will do my best to answer your questions and help you out to the best of my ability. Also, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'm trying to hit that 3K by the end of 2024. If you could help me out with that, it'd be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, stay tuned for many more awesome videos on the Andy's Auto YouTube channel. I'm Andy, signing off.